Now, on the phone, I'm really pleased to say I've got David Hencke, who's our veteran lobby correspondent and also an award-winning investigative journalist. Good afternoon, David. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Good afternoon. I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Put it like that.
Yeah, okay. It's lovely to speak to you again on Salford City Radio.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to be invited again, actually, because you followed this very thoroughly for a long time, actually.
That's right. It's 2018, I think I got first involved in it, covering it with the radio. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, first question is, the global reach of your Westminster Confidential blog has grown exponentially over the years, during which time you have reported on the journey of 1950s born women. Had expected to be reporting on the prolonged injustice for over 10 years. Please, can you bring us up to date?
Well, I wasn't expecting to have to do it for 10 years. I mean, it seems to be, it's one of the biggest scandals of our time, and along with the long-running infected blood scandal, the post office and other things that seem to take ages to resolve, actually. And in this case, so far, the women have got nothing, actually, which is probably the worst case scenario among all these groups. So it has been going for a long time, and and my blog actually has a reach outside, not only in the UK on a scale, but also globally. And one really intriguing thing is that, and I've talked to someone who knows about this, I'm getting a lot of hits from China, of all places. And someone says, what is going on there? China has basically, women can retire at 50. It's one of the lowest retirement ages in the world, and men at 60. And someone says what they think they're doing, because they're pulling all my blogs out on the fight of the 50s women, because they are probably trying to work out a policy of whether they've got to raise the pension age there, because it is pretty low, particularly for women. And they've obviously discovered the blog, doing it for other detail, and there's on everything on it, and they're probably a bit nervous about doing it as well, whether they'll get a really bad reaction. I mean, funnily enough, Putin, who is not known for any U-turns and is bloody-minded, tried to raise the pension age for women, and all the babushkas revolted, and he was so worried that he abandoned it. Actually.
Wow.
Well, the only thing he's ever abandoned, I think. Not like the war in Ukraine, which he's pushing on with. But actually this, and I have a feeling they would know that in China, that Russia had a lot of problems. And they seem to be following my blogs on the whole thing, because I can tell which, and it's actually from about 40 cities in China that are monitoring it.
Good grief. Yeah.
So it's a bit amazing, actually. But generally, I mean, this has been going on far too long. Successive governments have not done anything really about it. We've had an ombudsman report that only found partial maladministration. And frankly, the present situation is absolutely, well, frankly, in my view, it's ridiculous, because WASPI have raised hundreds of thousands of pounds to take the DWP to court for judicial review, rather like when Back to 60 in the past did the same thing. And what seems to have happened in the last fortnight has been extraordinary, because, first of all, people didn't realise there was a case management hearing about a week before the judicial review. And then when people tried to see if they could attend it, they got some very peculiar advice from the administrative court, and people have actually kept a record of this, whereby it was saying, well, you can only attend if both sides agree. And, well, frankly, there is a mechanism where if you fill in a form, you may have to pay £300 if they don't agree. And this was bizarre, actually. And what seemed to have happened is that the judge decided on December the 2nd, the day before, that he was obviously having none of this, because he issued on the National Judiciary Press website the fact that anybody could attend and put it out nationally because he regarded it as a matter of great public interest. And then what happened is WASPI and the DWP ran off and didn't have a case management thing, closed down, said they weren't going to have a judicial review the following week. And the department has returned £180,000 to WASPI, actually, from the money they've raised. And it's not quite clear what they're going to do with the money at the moment. I mean, WASPI seem to be saying, well, if we don't get the right answer, when this review is completed, they seem to promise to review, it's all right, we can go back to the judicial review. But actually, if you read the court documents, it says that the department have paid the £180,000 in full and final settlement of the case, and as a result, WASPI withdrew the review. So I'm really curious about what's going on. There seems to be things going on behind the scenes, actually, that no one really knows about. It seems to be almost private meetings going on. And whether the government are going to give some money, they might be able to, because in the budget, basically they've got a 22 billion sum of money to basically to deal with any crisis and unknown things. Yes. So they could use a bit of that, but it won't be anywhere near, what the CEDAW and law people want, who want actually now want proper mediation. Yes. And they've got lawyers prepared to be mediators, and the DWP and the WASPI don't want to know about mediation. Yeah. And yet it seems to be the most logical thing to do, to be quite honest. Of course,
Can I move you on to the next question, David? It's one about, in 2010, David Cameron and Nick Clegg twice deferred their state pensions of all 1950s born women by stealth. On the cusp of their retirement, Chancellor George Osborne bragged about the enormous savings he had created by implementing the sudden and steep deferrals. How does that decision sit with the 271 billion that was taken from the National Insurance Fund auto credits, paying off the national debt out of the National Insurance Fund?
Well, this is an extraordinary thing, because I did research for Back to 60, and I found that when this happened, and nobody in Parliament realised this had happened, because under Beveridge, when they set up the National Insurance Fund, a third of the money came from the Treasury, because it's not just meant for pensions. It covers unemployment benefits, or now job seekers allowance, covers paternity and maternity payments and stuff like this. And basically, they took the Thatcher, and it was John Moore, it was the Social Security, took the decision to no longer put any money into it. And this was quite a revelation to me. This was in 1989. And I then found on the internet a former advisor who's now dead. He was advisor to David Hencke, the Labour Social Security Secretary, who had actually worked out for the pensioners in Suffolk how much money the government would save every year. And that's where you get the 271 billion. And of course, on top of that, as you rightly said, Cameron and Osborne then decided to make it 66 rather than 65, yes. And also kept until 2018 this amazing auto credit system, which meant if a man decided he'd retire early at 60, it'd have 5 years free national insurance, and so it'd have a bigger pension paid by the government. And that was extraordinary. It was introduced again under Thatcher in 1984 when unemployment was very high, and it was meant to take them off the unemployment benefit roll by getting them to accept this thing. And it was only meant to be a temporary thing. It wasn't meant to last 2018, which it did. So it was really a really bad thing. And of course Osborne boasted that he had cleverly done all this and nobody had noticed, actually. Well, I'm afraid it's come back to bite him now, because everybody knows what's been going on, including people in China, for that matter.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted to say congratulations on your visit to Downing Street yesterday. I saw the pictures and they're looking really good. And I think that was the next question, which is, what can 1950s-born women expect from the Prime Minister out of their visit to 10 Downing Street this week?
Well, what they're hoping for is that he will intervene and probably tell the Work and Pension Secretary that it would be very silly to just have a private arrangement with WASPI. And when there's so many other groups, there's a big group in Wales as well as a CEDAW in Law and another in Manchester. And if these people are all excluded, someone could introduce a challenge and say, well, we weren't consulted on this with you, we've just had this imposed, and WASPI don't represent, the 3.5 million people. They only represent a portion who, I think it's about 7%, who pay a fee to belong to WASPI. And so I'm hoping that they might see sense and think, well, first of all, reconsider the way they're going, which appears to be they might be private, sort of nod and wink negotiations between WASPI and the DWP with a hint of what the DWP might pay, and go for consulting everybody, because everybody has a right to be consulted on this. It shouldn't be just left to one group. And I'm absolutely astounded that WASPI don't want anybody else involved in it, which is ridiculous, because actually if in fact all the groups are the thing, you're much stronger by working together than just one organisation excluding everybody else. So that's what I'm hoping. I mean, the idea was to give it a bit of publicity, and they were very friendly to us. In fact, the policemen are beginning to recognise us.
For the right reasons.
For the absolute right reasons. Even use our Christian names, actually, they know who we are. And they were wondering whether we'd have to come back again later.
Yes,
and they were very helpful, actually. And I was glad I got that up. I also made sure that there was in my blog that people could listen to this programme as well by putting a link in to your Salford City Radio as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, that's good.
So there we are. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get some publicity on this. Yeah. But I mean, it's been very strange because most of the media have just followed the WASPI script. They've not really looked further afield at this at all, and that is really wrong, because they're not covering the full gamut of people. I mean, it's not just CEDAW and Law, but as I say, there's a strong organisation in Wales and in Manchester that are just being ignored, and that shouldn't be the case.
Of course, yeah. Now, I've got Jocelyn up next, but I know you've picked a record, haven't you, which we're going to play now, which is the one that you wanted for the end of the interview. So would you like to introduce it, David?
Oh, yes, sir. I thought as it was getting near Christmas, there's quite a famous old record by the Pogues, actually, who did a fairy tale Christmas in New York. And I thought as it was Christmas time, this was a very good idea to have a replay of this rather tuneful record from them.
So thank you, David. Lovely to speak to you again, and hopefully we'll speak very soon.
Yeah, I hope so as well, and thank you for having me on again.